It's the Brad and John Show.
John, are you into Dave Chappelle?
Yeah, I think it's really funny.
Okay, do you ever listen to some of the things he says, which makes so much sense? He does it as a comedian, but it makes so much sense.
Yeah, especially Jussie Smollett, transgender issues, gay issues. Yeah.
Can I play something here for you real quick? This is only like 30 seconds. Okay, I'm going to play this. This is a part of a Dave Chappelle bit. Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
Here we go.
Say LeBron James changed his gender. You know what I mean? Okay. Can he stay in the NBA, or, because he's a woman, does he have to go to the WNBA where he will score 840 points a game? What does it actually mean to be equal? You know what I mean? Like, if women are actually equal to men, then there would be no WNBA, would there? You would just be good enough to play in the NBA with us.
See, he does that as a comedian, but doesn't that make so much sense?
Yeah, exactly. And you can tell that there's people in the audience who are Dave Chappelle fans who want to laugh, but they feel kind of bad for laughing because they know we're not supposed to laugh about gender equality. It's a serious topic.
Well, remember Trump said at one point in time, do you remember this comment he made? It was pretty funny. About how he was going to go buy a team. Tell that story. Yeah, he's going to buy a WNBA team and fire all the women and get a bunch of guys who just worked out their way out of the NBA and a bunch of the college stars, and essentially say, okay, declare you're a woman, and they would win every single game. And it's true. They would kill the women's teams, right? I mean, Caitlin,
it wouldn't be close. Right.
Caitlin Clark wouldn't be able to keep up with I mean, it's just like, remember this whole controversy that came out when was it Oprah that said something about the fact that when she was talking about men's and women's tennis, it's so equal, and she talked about the fact that Venus Williams, it was either Serena or Venus, I can't remember which one, that the best man would have a tough time beating her, and then they interviewed. Is either Venus or Serena. I can't remember which one. And remember this? You know what she said? She said
there's no way.
Yeah, she said she could be beaten by the 200th ranked man. And she said it was just a different game. She said the men's and the women's game is totally different. I still don't understand this whole crazy thing. I mean, there's so many things. And John, tell me that I'm not like hallucinating or something like that. Isn't it to the point where when you hear, and especially if you heard Biden's farewell address, did you hear any of that?
I did. Yeah, I listened actually to most of it.
Is the guy on drugs or what? Does he?
Yeah, and actually my first comment when I was watching it was, I wonder how much stuff they have him pumped up with. Because think about it, Brad. It was like 8:15. I think it was 8:15 where he was. It was like 7:15 our time. Like, for him to be up that late, like trying to put sentences together, he had to be pumped on something.
But what he said, he was like living in an alternate universe. You know what I mean? I mean, if you would have listened to him and go like, oh my God, everything's great in the country. We don't have any problems. We don't have any problems in the world. There's no problems in the Middle East. There's no problems with inflation. Things are great. We're all living this wonderful life. I'm going like, who wrote that for him? Do you think he really believes that?
I don't know, and you wonder in the last year. So, Brad, you talked eloquently yesterday about Jill Biden and about the fact that Jill seems to create an alternate universe for Joe. If you live in that bubble, and look, you're not actually talking to people who will tell you a contrary opinion. It's just sometimes the emperor thinks that he has clothes on.
It goes back to, James Carville. I've always, even though he's been an interesting character and sometimes said things that have probably bothered me, but what comes out of his mouth is the unvarnished truth 99% of the time. And the thing that cracked me up was, if Jason Rosenbaum is listening, Jason, we're not making fun of you. We're just sort of making fun of the situation with NPR. When Carville said the problem that one of the reasons that Kamala lost was that the Democrats were into NPR jargon and they weren't talking like average people. And that's so true. I remember when I first got in the radio business, one of my things was we used to have what we called air check sessions. And air check sessions, would you do your show, and then we played music, but they had a special machine in the air studio, only recorded when your microphone was on. At the end of the shift, you went in the program director's office, and he tore you apart. Okay, look, why did you say this? Why did you say that? And one of the things that I did was I would say, I'm Brad Hildebrand. No, I would say, this is Brad Hildebrand. This is Brad Hildebrand. And my boss said to me,
I know why you don't do that, Brad. I know why you don't do that.
You know why? Tell me.
Because if you met somebody, I don't mean to step on your story, but as you've mentioned several times on the show, if you met somebody on the street, you wouldn't say, this is Brad Hildebrand. You'd say, I'm Brad Hildebrand.
Right. And his point was, be a real person. You know, I mean, you and I talked about that at length. The big talk show hosts, the guys who really made it big, the Rush Limbaugh. The Rush Limbaugh you heard on the air was the same Rush Limbaugh you could have dinner with. On and on. Larry King was the same way. Larry King was the same way. Howard Stern used to be that way. Charlemagne the God. I mean, Charlemagne the God, sometimes the black people get mad at him because he doesn't toe the black line all the time. You know what I'm saying? Because
I do know, yeah.
He says things that make sense as a person. And I tell you what, I'm thinking to myself, and somebody's going to go, oh my, Brad the Trumper. I can't wait till noon on Monday. You know, I mean, I just can't wait. And I'm thinking to myself, what in the hell is going to happen today, tomorrow, Sunday, and up until, the official changeover in the presidency on Monday? I mean, what's he going to do? Is he going to say stop signs don't mean stop? You can just go through those. Red lights mean go. Green lights mean stop. It's just bizarre.
Well, the good news is I do want to share another good news story, Brad, and I say good in air quotes there. Kansas City Star has a piece up today that the HUD administration under Joe Biden has just given 15.5 million grants to some folks in Kansas City because they need to rebuild. There's a historically black housing cooperative that back in the old ancient days, like when you were a kid, housed some black people. So what we're going to do is we're going to dump $15.5 million into it because we really need to pay tribute to the fact that a bunch of black people used to live here a year ago. So that's what we're going to see a lot of, Brad. You got to keep spending the money, right? And you got to keep spending the money up until Monday.
Speaking of money, I read something yesterday. You're up on this. I read something. I can't remember the source on this. They said that Tashara Jones only has $47,000 in her re-election campaign. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah, so here's an amateur view versus a professional view.
Okay.
Yeah, some people are reporting the fact that Kara Spencer has more money than Tashara Jones. Now, Brad, what amateurs don't see, and that's not about you, that's just about people who go all a Twitter about things without knowing what they're talking about. What that figure doesn't include is PAC money. So a campaign fund, for example, Mike Kehoe's campaign might only raise $10. But if his political action committee raises $6 million, it's inaccurate to tweet something that says, can you believe Mike Kehoe only raised $10 for his campaign? Tashara's political action committee, which I believe is called 314 Forward, something like that, has not filed their mandated quarterly campaign report yet. Now, a semi-professional would point that out and neglect to mention, Brad, that when you send something to the Missouri Ethics Commission, it has to be postmarked by a certain date. Unless I'm mistaken, and I could be mistaken, it's kind of like your tax documents. As long as you get it postmarked by a certain date and the ethics company receives it whenever, the filing is not late. So, Brad, an amateur would say that Kara Spencer is out raising Tashara Jones. A professional would tell you, let's just wait until we see the PAC money. Thanks for the opportunity to educate on that, Brad, because a lot of amateurs get that wrong.
So what you're also saying is if it was what was the date it had to be postmarked by?
By the 15th. Then because of U.S. Postal Mail Service, they'll get it sometime in November.
That's what I was going to say. I'm sitting here looking at parts that I've ordered for the radio station, which came to me via USPS, which have been sitting in the post office since last Thursday. It's been over a week now.
Yeah. And one of my favorite people on earth. I was like, it's kind of curious. I didn't get a family Christmas card from them. It arrived on Wednesday, Brad. And she's very type A. She has everything in an Excel spreadsheet. I love the woman. And I'm sure I haven't texted her about it, but I'm sure she sent it before Christmas.
Did you look at the postmark?
Yeah, it said January 11th.
That was when it was postmarked?
I think so. Or maybe that's when I got it. Anyway, I got it way late, and I know it's not because of sender error.
You know, there was a time, as a matter of fact, I read an article the other day that some guy went to the post office and complained about the fact that he hadn't gotten mail for like a week and a half. And they started, well, we're understaffed and some of our vehicles don't work and blah, 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 blah. And he had it off the top of his head. He read the postman's oath. Remember, by the dark of night, whatever, that we will deliver. And the person behind the counter said, we don't pay attention to that anymore.
Yeah, I know. Well, they need to be concerned for their safety, Brad. And when the roads are as bad as they are now, how do you expect a postwoman or a postman to get to a mailbox?
Well, John, it's like, remember we talked about this a couple weeks ago and listened to NPR, and they had the story on about the unionization of Amazon. Remember they had the deal where the Amazon drivers were supposed to strike, and they interviewed the lady down in Atlanta, and she goes, this is a tough job. Sometimes the temperature gets down to 30. And she's in Atlanta, obviously, so it doesn't get that cold that much. They don't get. I don't think, rarely did they ever get any snow. Occasionally they do, but rarely does they ever get any snow. Okay, it's like if you become a police officer and you go into the sergeant's office one day and you say, Sergeant, I showed up on the scene of a bank robbery and they shot at me. I didn't know they were going to shoot at me. What's the sergeant going to say?
Yes.
Dude, get the hell out of my office. Give me your badge. Give me your gun. Go work at Amazon. Complain about the fact that you have to drive a truck when there's snow on the road or something like that. Man, there was a day.
Hey, speaking, and go ahead, Brett.
There was a day that, and I don't know. You're going to make fun of me when I say this, but because I'm an old guy, okay? And by the way, I looked this up. Here we go. John's going, oh, Brad's doing his weave. We talked about Bob Kuban yesterday.
Yeah.
84.
Wow. So he's only a few years younger than you, Brad.
He's 5 years younger than me, and he's still out there playing drums and hobnobbing with the Republicans. And I made a mistake.
Hold on. We didn't get a chance to talk about this yesterday because we just didn't. But yeah, he performs. If you're a Republican or a donor who donates to Republicans, or you're a big philanthropy person, and you've ever been out to Hunter Farms, which is owned by Stephen Kimmy Brower off the Ladue Road. If you've been to big Republican fundraisers, chances are the band that greeted you as you came in and played interstitially throughout the show was the Bob Kuban Band.
And I was correct that he was a music teacher. I said it at Riverview High School. He actually was a band director at Bishop DuBourg High School, and so
which doesn't exist anymore.
Right,
sure.
which is sad. Which is sad because God, all the Catholic high schools are gone. All the North County schools. Remember, they took three.
I don't know. I'm going to a Rosary basketball game tonight, Brad. I don't know what you're talking about.
John,
and by the way, to correct myself, I just went to the Missouri Ethics Commission website, and postmarks need to be done. Mailed filings must be postmarked no later than midnight the day before the due date. So Tashara Jones Pack could have mailed it. Like if they want to mess with people, if they want to get real cute, how people get sometimes, they could probably just do a mailed in version of it. And as long as it's postmarked before midnight on the 14th, they're fine.
Interesting. Okay. And I talked to someone yesterday. I don't know if you know this or not, but when they redid all the mail services, do you know the people like in Springfield, Illinois? And I knew that was the case with Springfield, Illinois, but also Carbondale, Illinois. If you are at 1252 Mockingbird Lane and you want to mail something to your neighbor 3 doors down at 1248 Mockingbird Lane, you go to your local Springfield, Illinois post office. You drop it in the mail. It's picked up by the postman who takes it to the Springfield post office, who then takes it down to downtown St. Louis. They process it in downtown St. Louis, and then they put it back in a truck. It goes back to Springfield, Illinois from St. Louis, and it goes to the post office, and then the mailman comes 4 or 5 days later, or maybe a week later, and drops it off at your next-door neighbor's house. They talk about global warming. Do you see a problem with that, John?
I do. And that goes back to something we talked about 2 weeks ago, Brad, which is the St. Louis Post-Dispatch is now sending their paper to Columbia to be printed. And then it gets back. The paper is printed in Columbia and then gets delivered here. So the next time the Post-Dispatch editorial board or the reporters or op-ed folks lecture you about global warming, How many fossil fuels do their trucks burn trying to get all 8 subscribers in St. Louis their newspaper? Now, Brad, what you didn't mention is that if you want to get something 3 doors down, you just go to your neighbor and you say, "I'm here without you, baby." It's a 3 doors down song, Brad.
Oh, I get it. John's being real tricky this morning. What was the other thing you said earlier this morning where I said...
I don't know, but I was kind of mean to you about the P-51 Mustang, and I want to apologize, Brad. I was a little cranky about that, and I'm sorry.
You said Kodak Black, and I said Kodak Black,
Yeah,
and
Fuji pink.
you said Fuji White. Okay,
Yeah,
John.
Fuji White.
John, you know what? Tomorrow morning and Sunday morning, you know what I'll be doing?
You're gonna be playing our shows back because you're gonna miss me until MLK Day.
At 7:00. Or by the way, we're working on. I forgot that's MLK Day, another holiday.
I know. And now, Brad, are we gonna work on MLK Day?
Oh my God, we may get picketed, right?
Yeah, we might get picketed. But you know what? I'll see you at 8 a.m. on Monday.
Okay.
7 a.m. I mean.
7 a.m. 8 a.m. That would be us Eastern time. Okay. Say goodbye, John.
See you guys tomorrow.